Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Great to finally connect.
Yeah, thank you for doing this interview with me.
Of course, of course. I'm happy.
Let's get
Yes.
started.
Yeah.
So, how did you get started with your career in audio engineering? And did you go to school for audio or are you self-taught?
Um, well, I started getting into music when I was around 10 years old. I started to play guitar. And as I grew up, I kind of played in different bands, playing guitar and then writing some songs and then got into production a little bit. I believe around the age of like 16 or 17, I decided that I want to really like get into the production engineering world, and I looked up some schools that would be good for me and schools that affiliate with the industry that I want to be in, which is film and TV. So I looked up a lot, and then I found out that the school called the Musician Institute. This is the place where it might be good for me to go to. Um, I look up like for on all the professors and everyone, just to make sure they're actually in the industry as well and can help me out, of course, later on within my career. So I moved to LA. I had some like exams, and they wanted to hear some stuff that I did and some knowledge about music production, basic stuff. And after that, I kind of like went into a progress where I thought I'll be writing music to more into the engineering world, because I feel like the best engineers are actually good producers. Like this is what I always felt. So I wanted to really, really, once I got really deep into production, I wanted to take all this knowledge and actually go even deeper in the engineering world. So once I decided that, I spoke with some of my professors, and my first professor that I had a conversation with, he heard some of my stuff, and he told me that he can help me out getting my first internship, which was at Hans Zimmer Studio. So I basically I went for an interview. The interview went great, and then I started my 5 weeks internship over there, and I worked with some of the engineers, the composer, for I think it was a few months. I don't remember because it was back in 2015, but it was I think more than 6 months at least, like the 5 weeks internship, and then I moved to another team, and I was an intern with their team as well, and then a runner. I think the whole thing was around 6 or 8 months, something like that. And this is kind of like what got me into the path of being an engineer. Uh, Honestly, I moved around from a studio to studio. The expertise is in film and TV and score in general, orchestral score. And it's funny because like my knowledge I came from pop actually. So I had a chance to go deep into both. Sorry, to go deep into these both worlds. And today I'm actually this is what I do. I work with production that maybe do some pop songs for trailers or for artists, and sometimes I work for film composers that write music for film and TV.
That's
Yeah,
interesting. Wow.
yeah.
What's the first song or sound that made you fall in love with audio?
Ooh, I can. Well, what I remember mostly is actually the one of the film that got me into it. It's actually the Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, I believe. Right, that's his name. I forgot already the actor name. But yeah, he's a great actor, and the movie is just amazing. The music is composed by Eddie Strauss, and he's like one of my idol for for music for film basically, which is funny because I actually met him a year ago in one of the events, one of the Emmys events that I went to, and it was just surreal to see him, because I remember when I was 18, watching his videos and interviews and stuff like that. And he like his music is what got me interested into the film. score. And I kind of like, I feel like this score specifically, well, this movie had a lot of placement for the score, like the score and the music itself played a lot in the movie because you see a lot of landscapes and there's a lot of like empty scenes where all you see is the characters maybe walking, maybe doing something, and the dialogue is of course very on point, but the music speaks a lot. Basically, takes through the dialogue, which is amazing. But yeah, this is definitely the movie that kind of like got me into that.
Yeah. Can you walk us through the process when mixing or mastering a track?
Yeah. Um, So there's a few different processes depend on the genre that you're working on.
Mhm.
But what I do mostly these days is orchestral score. So a lot of the material that I receive is basically the orchestra itself, which was recorded in a scoring stage. So there is the recording engineer, which sometimes I act as the recording engineer as well. You need to place the microphones exactly where they need to be to capture the sound and capture the the each instrument to make all the score and to create a track that will basically be the exact visual that the composer had. Of course, there's a lot of work between the composer and the orchestrator, but at the end of the day, once you put the microphones in the specific parts and in strategic places, you basically receive the whole score already from the source, which is the recording source, the recording material. There's a lot of course, depends on the how do you say it? Like the performance, basically, the performance of the players. You know, it depends how they play, their rhythmic, their playing, their sync, how they play together, the dynamics, everything. So once you capture that, you take all of the material to the studios, which is basically a lot of tracks, track by track, which is can be, you know, the first violin, second violin,
Mhm.
two or three more violins, and then viola, and then cello, and horns, and brasses, and a bunch of stuff that you need to basically record. And once you have the whole orchestra in your computer, in your DAW, which is basically the software that we work with. I work with Pro Tools. There's a few of them. Um, you have all the tracks laid down for you, and you start to mix it. Now, mixing is a part where you take whatever was captured in the recording phase and you start to balance it out, which means maybe one of the violin players played too loud, or maybe too quiet, or
Mhm.
maybe didn't play the right note. So you need to change the takes and find the right notes. So there's a lot of basically like matching the score itself to make it sound perfect, flawless. The performance needs to be perfect, and of course, once you have that, you start to match it to the video. So what you see, right? So it can be an action scene, it can be a love scene, it can be a funny scene, and you need to basically have the score exactly like it was meant to for the specific scene. For example, if it's a love story and the piano is the, you know, is the star in the piece, in this cue, specifically in the scene, then you need to mix it properly so it will, you know, have the whole weight on the piano. If there's an explosion in an action scene, then you need to find a specific part that emphasizes the explosion, and so on and on. So, but yeah, this is basically what I do specifically for mixing. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is my favorite question. What tools, plugins, or gear do you rely on the most? I'm more of a technical person, so I love you to all questions.
Wow. Oh, that's good. Well, it's great to know that you have a little bit of knowledge about it because yeah, I'm very geeky about the gear that I work with. I I have a few things that I like to work with. I have a lot of hardware gear, which
Mm,
I try to implement in all of my score. Hardware gear, it's basically the old school stuff that, you know, you see in the big studios. They have a bunch of, you know, different gear with knobs that you play with.
mhm,
For film specifically, it's not very, people don't tend to use it a lot because you have you need to have a fast turnaround, and there's not a lot of time to make adjustment because it's analog here, so you need to tweak everything. So I kind of like had a chance after finding out how can I actually work with analog gear into my score for each and every cue. Um, there's a 500 series, which is basically the smaller version for every hardware gear
Mhm.
that you can think of. And I have different chains. And for each chain, I assign a group. For example, brass section, which is the trumpets and the horns and sax or whatever, like all those brass instruments, I send them to a specific 500 chain that I have, which is a lot of analog gear that I try to tweak. It can be a compressor, an EQ, and all sort of stuff. Now, if we're going specifically what I have, so I like to work with the Shadow Hills compressor, which is one of my favorites. I like to work with the SSL bus compressor, which is also one of my favorite. The Clarophonic mid-side EQ, Valid EQ for the SSL, Voice of God, which is amazing for any low-end enhancement that you want. What else I have?
What about the doll?
The DAW itself?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, what I like to work with the plugin that I like, what I try to play around with a lot is the reverbs. Real world and in the digital world, they're both based on algorithms. So I like to work with only reverbs inside the DAW. So Seventh Heaven is one of my favorite. Um, Capital Chamber is one of my favorites as well. I like to work sometimes with a Valhalla for like quick, uh, something quick that I like to work with if I need like a throw reverb or something like that. I like to work with Echo Boy, which is a really great delay that I like to work with. What else? A lot of the Brainworks plugins that I like the Elijah mastering EQ, and I like to work with Suit. For example, if there's a lot of harsh frequencies and stuff like that, I need to work with. I like to work with the Weiss mastering maximizer, which is one of my favorite limiters. So yeah, I work with a few plugins as well. But I must say that most of the stuff that I work is to fine tune it. Like I try to not, I try to keep the source that I already got, unless it's a very problematic source, and then I need to fix a lot of stuff. But if the source itself or the production and the arrangement is working great, I enhance it. I enhance the 3D dimension, like the three dimension of the mix, the width, the height, and the depth of it. This is what I do
Yeah.
mainly.
Do you use Logic Pro X too? And I know there's like another doll. I don't know what's it called. It starts there's like what couple of dolls do you use?
So I have a few clients that work with different DAWs, and I work mainly with Pro Tools, but I have some clients that I work with them in Logic Pro and Cubase as well. My client use like Ableton or Studio One.
Trying to come up with.
Ableton, yeah, that's a very common for singer-songwriter,
Okay.
people that like to write hip hop and pop and EDM.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I work mainly in Pro Tools and then Logic and Cubase.
Are there any books, courses, or mentors that have a big impact on you?
Um, One of my bosses, Brad Hanel, he had a big impact,
Mhm.
definitely for my work, and like kind of like adapted the old school approach from him, because he started back, yeah, I don't know, like 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and things worked very different. But he really liked to have the specific gear that he used to work with, and he has his own specific ways of doing stuff. And this is why his, mixing also sound, very unique. So I learned a lot, a lot from him, definitely, on what approach to have and how to work with templates and how to mix in 5.1 and a lot of stuff. So he's definitely was had a lot of impact, but I guess the biggest impact was actually to work with my one of my partners.
Mhm.
His name is Nate Chavin,
Mhm.
and he's basically the best musicians I've ever met. and he's one of the best producers I've ever met as well. And he knows about engineering and about computers and about electricity and basically everything. Like he has very deep knowledge about almost every topic that I covered in my career. So I learned a lot from here, and we actually produced a pop album together,
Mhm.
uh, named Arsene. That this is like one of our biggest projects that we did together, and the album, of course, is we publish it. It was mainly for fun at first. Worked on it, and we heard how like if you take the 100% of my knowledge and abilities, and you take his 100%, the album just sounded like over the top of anything that I've ever heard, because we really got into deep into research of how Michael Jackson did his stuff and how Bruno Mars is doing his stuff, how Daft Punk, and we were like, we need to top them. So I learned a lot from this process, like way more than everything that I've ever done about everything. So yeah, I'll say this is definitely the best.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any upcoming projects or collaborations you're looking forward to?
Well, there's a bunch. Unfortunately, I can't really say, but I can say that I'm working on some really big trailers
Mhm.
for well-known companies and well-known TV shows and movies that are gonna come very, very soon. Also, I'm going to work on a video game, and we are going to record everything in Macedonia, and this is also super exciting for me. Also working on a film that is being recorded in Puerto Rico,
Oh,
so
that.
that's also very exciting. And I'm working on a season two for a Netflix film that I worked on. Sorry, not season two, the second movie
Mhm.
for in the series, basically, which is also great, and that's also gonna come soon. But if you follow me on Instagram, you can definitely see eventually when it's out. Yes, 100%. I'm publishing everything out there. Yes.
And that's it. Wow. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank
Thank you for
you.
the interview with me.
Of course. Thank you. Your questions were amazing, honestly. I love those questions. Also personal, but also very professional, and I love this combination.